They said the recall was handled. For millions of owners, that turned out not to be the end of the story. That is the entire premise of every vehicle on this list. 7 cars, 7 recalls, 7 moments where an owner sat in a waiting room, handed over the keys, and left believing the process had worked. For every vehicle here, the situation that followed was more complicated than that moment suggested. Some remedies failed once, some failed twice. One of them was confirmed by federal safety regulators to have failed 4 separate times before the actual solution was finally applied. We are going through all 7, starting at number 7 and ending with the one that has the most documented evidence of a recall remedy that did not hold. By the end of this, you will understand exactly why a recall notice is not the same thing as a resolved defect. And if you own any vehicle on this list, the information that follows is not historical, it is current. Number 7, for the 2025 Hyundai Palisade. There is a specific kind of frustration that belongs only to new car owners. The decision is made, the research is done, the financing is settled, you drive home in something that still smells like the factory. And then within months of taking possession, a letter arrives in the mail telling you to park it outside, not in your garage, outside, away from your home, away from any structure that matters to you. That is exactly what happened to buyers of the 2025 Hyundai Palisade. The defect involves the electric oil pump controller. Moisture can infiltrate the printed circuit board inside that controller, creating an electrical short. An electrical short in that location generates heat, and depending on what surrounds it and how long it builds, that heat can become a fire inside a vehicle that is parked off and doing nothing that should cause any concern whatsoever. Hyundai issued the recall and instructed affected owners to park outside and away from structures until repairs could be completed. The fix is a replacement of the controller unit. The recall covered 620 vehicles. 620 sounds manageable. By recall standards, it is a small number, but these were not 620 random people. These were buyers who made a deliberate decision to purchase a brand new flagship family SUV. They chose new specifically to avoid the uncertainty that comes with used vehicles and unknown histories. They paid the new car premium for the specific reason that new is supposed to be safe. And the first meaningful instruction they received from the manufacturer after driving it home was, your brand new car is a potential fire hazard. Please do not keep it near anything you value. Some of these vehicles had not yet had their first oil change when the recall notice arrived. That is not peace of mind. That is a parking instruction. If someone you know recently took delivery of one of these, the recall is current and active, the repair exists, but until it is completed, the vehicle sits under an advisory that was not in any of the sales materials. That is number 7, the smallest number of affected vehicles on this countdown. Everything from here increases in scale considerably. Number 6, the Kia Telluride, 2020 through 2024, 462,869 vehicles. Say that number again, 462,000. Nearly 500,000 Kia Telluride SUVs, one of the most popular family vehicles sold in America across those model years, all of them under a federal fire risk recall, all of them carrying an official advisory from the manufacturer to park outside, away from other vehicles, away from structures. Now, here is the part of this story that stops people when they hear it. When they hear the cause of the fire risk was not the battery, it was not the fuel system, it was not a software defect or an electrical architecture failure. The mechanism identified as capable of generating enough heat to ignite a fire inside a Kia Telluride was the front power seat motor, the seat, the one that moves forward and backward when you adjust your position. Here's the technical sequence. The power seat slide knob can become stuck. When the knob is stuck, the seat motor does not receive a signal to stop. It keeps trying to move the seat. It keeps drawing current against resistance it cannot overcome. That continuous electrical load generates heat inside the motor, and that heat can build to levels capable of igniting surrounding materials inside the passenger cabin of a vehicle that is otherwise operating normally. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration issued a consumer alert. Kia told nearly 500,000 owners to park outside and contact their dealers. Think about who buys a Telluride. This is a 3-row family SUV. These are parents with car seats in the second and third rows, people who research safety ratings before they buy, people who specifically chose a vehicle this size because it felt substantive, capable, and safe. And the official guidance from the manufacturer after they spent somewhere between $40,000 and $55,000 was to keep it away from their home and their garage until an appointment could be scheduled. The fix involves installing a bracket for the seat switch and replacing the slide knobs. Not a complicated repair, but completing it across nearly 500,000 vehicles takes time. During that window, those owners were making daily decisions about where to park, whether to use the seat adjustment, and what the correct level of concern was for a vehicle they were still using to drive to work and pick up their children. If you own a Telluride from any of those model years, drop a comment and tell me whether that seat recall has been completed on your vehicle. Because on a recall of this scale, announced and completed are not the same thing. The gap between those two words can span months. That is number 6. Number 5 involves a family vehicle where the promise of electric-assisted driving met a battery fire recall, and the remedy that followed took months to arrive for the owners who needed it most. Number 5, the Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid, 2017 and 2018 model years. The family minivan occupies a specific place in the automotive market. It is not a status vehicle. It is not a performance vehicle. It is the vehicle that parents buy when the priority is space, practicality, and the kind of reliability that allows you to put car seats in the back and drive without a second thought. The Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid added an electric powertrain to that equation. The practicality of a minivan combined with the efficiency of partial electric operation. You plug it in at night, you drive the kids to school in the morning. That is what the ownership experience is supposed to look like. In early 2021, Stellantis recalled approximately 19,800 vehicles, 2017 and 2018 Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrids for a battery cell defect. The cells, manufactured by Samsung SDI, could develop internal short circuits through a manufacturing flaw in their construction. An internal short circuit in a lithium-ion cell produces thermal runaway. Thermal runaway produces fire. Multiple fires had already been reported in these vehicles before the recall was officially issued. The vehicles were parked, they were not charging, they were off, and they caught fire. Stellantis issued the recall and told owners, do not charge your vehicle, park it outside, away from structures. The plug-in hybrid, the vehicle purchased partly for the specific ability to charge and run on electric power, was now a vehicle that owners were told under no circumstances to plug in. Here's the part that defines this entry. The remedy required replacing the high voltage battery pack with a redesigned unit. Battery pack replacement at scale across nearly 20,000 vehicles requires parts, and the parts required to complete this remedy were not immediately available in the volume needed when the recall was issued. For some owners, the wait for an actual replacement extended for months. During that time, the official status of their vehicle was recalled but not repaired. Fire risk confirmed. Remedy pending. A recall notice arrived in their mailbox. No appointment could yet be scheduled because the fix did not exist in the form needed to complete it. The recall told them the problem was real. It did not tell them when the problem would be solved. Owners of a family minivan, a vehicle people buy specifically for its practicality and dependability, were parking outside their homes, waiting for a battery replacement with no confirmed date. The recall had been issued, their vehicle had not been fixed. That is number 5. Number 4 is the one that will bother a specific kind of buyer more than any other entry on this list, because the next brand was chosen by millions of people for one specific reason: to avoid ending up in a situation exactly like this one. Number 4, the Toyota Camry Hybrid and the Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid, 2025 and 2026 model years, Toyota. The name alone does a specific kind of work in the automotive market. It functions as shorthand for the belief that decades of engineering refinement have produced something other brands have not. Reliability as a baseline assumption, not an aspiration. People do not just buy Toyota vehicles. They buy their way out of situations exactly like the ones described in this video. That is the purchase. That is what the badge is supposed to mean. In December of 2025, Toyota recalled approximately 55,000 vehicles, 2025 and 2026 Camry hybrids, and 2026 Corolla Cross hybrids for a defect in the hybrid powertrain inverter. A bolt inside the inverter can come loose during normal operation. When it does, it can cause a loss of motive power while driving, and in certain configurations, it can lead to a fire while the vehicle is on. 34 field reports and 15 warranty claims were already connected to this condition before the recall went public. Here is what separates this entry from every other one on this list. When Toyota issued the recall, a repair was not yet available for all affected owners. The recall notice went out describing a confirmed fire risk in brand new vehicles. The official communication from Toyota to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration regarding the remedy stated that owners would be informed when further information became available. Not, here is what your dealer will replace. Not, parts are available and appointments are open when further information becomes available. For many owners, a remedy was not yet available at the time the recall was issued. Toyota expected a solution by the end of the first quarter of 2026. A recall announcement is not a resolved recall. It is the beginning of one. And the Toyota owners who bought into that brand specifically because they believed reliability was already built in, discovered that a recall letter does not come with a guarantee of what follows it. They thought the brand would protect them. The recall notice told them to wait. Those are not the same thing. That is number 4. Number 3 is the one that required 2 separate official recalls issued within 6 months of each other for the same general category of fire risk. Number 3, BMW multiple model lines 2021 through 2023. The starter motor has one job. When you press the button, it engages, turns the engine over, and releases. That is the complete description of its function. It has been performing that function in various forms for more than a century of automotive production. BMW is one of the most sophisticated automotive manufacturers in the world. And in 2025 and 2026, the starter motor in certain BMW models became the subject of 2 separate federal recalls within 6 months. In September of 2025, BMW recalled nearly 200,000 vehicles in the United States. The affected models included the 3 Series, 5 Series, 4 Series, X3, X4, Z4, 2 Series Coupe, and the 2021 through 2023 Toyota Supra, which shares its engine platform with BMW and carries the same starter assembly. A starter relay could corrode internally. That corrosion could cause the relay to overheat and short circuit. And a short circuit in that location under certain conditions produces enough localized heat to ignite a fire. Dealers replaced starter components, owners received notifications, scheduled appointments, and drove home with new hardware, and the reasonable assumption that the issue had been addressed. In February of 2026, BMW issued a second recall, 87,394 additional United States vehicles, the same general fire risk category, starter motor degradation leading to overheating and fire. The second round covered models and production windows that had not been fully captured in the first recall, or where the progression of wear under real ownership conditions had not been fully characterized when the September notice went out. 2 recalls, the same general fire risk category around starter components, 5 months apart, a combined total approaching 300,000 vehicles across multiple model lines. One of the most sophisticated automotive manufacturers in the world could not fully map the scope of its own starter motor fire risk the first time around. That is not an accusation. It is what the timeline documents. If you are a BMW owner who brought your vehicle in during the fall of 2025 for a starter replacement and drove home feeling the matter was settled, that recall did address your specific vehicle. But the fact that a second recall for the same fire risk category was necessary 5 months later tells you something meaningful about how completely the scope of the problem was understood the first time. And if you own a Toyota Supra from those model years, your vehicle is part of this recall history. That information does not always arrive through Toyota. It arrives because the engine and the starter were engineered by BMW. If you are a BMW owner who has been through both of these, I want to hear from you in the comments. What did the second conversation at the dealer look like? That is number 3. The next 2 entries involve numbers and timelines that are harder to process. We are about to talk about millions of vehicles and the specific experience of receiving a new recall letter after already believing the first one had closed the matter. Number 2, Hyundai and Kia. Multiple models, multiple years. This entry is not one recall. It is a pattern documented across millions of vehicles, across multiple distinct defects, and across a repair timeline that became its own secondary crisis layered on top of the original one. The theta 2 engine. This is the 2.0 liter and 2.4 liter 4-cylinder powertrain that appeared across years of production in the Hyundai Sonata, the Hyundai Santa Fe, the Kia Optima, the Kia Sorento, and the Kia Sportage. A manufacturing defect left metal particles and debris inside the engine block during the casting and machining process. Those particles restricted the oil passages that lubricate the engine's critical moving components over time. Restricted oil flow means increased friction. Friction means heat. And heat in the wrong location inside an engine sustained long enough produces fire. The scale of the recall that followed was significant. NHTSA investigations were opened. Hyundai was fined $137 million for delays in issuing recall notices. Kia was fined $60 million for the same category of failure. Congressional attention followed, national coverage followed, and 6 months after a recall wave covering 3.4 million vehicles was issued, reporting confirmed that most of those vehicles had still not received repairs. Not because the owners did not try, because the parts required to fix 3.4 million engines did not exist in sufficient volume to match the demand generated by the recall notices that had already gone out. The owners who called their dealers and were told to come back when parts arrived were receiving an accurate description of a supply chain that had not been built to handle the scale of the problem it was suddenly being asked to solve. Those owners were driving cars with active fire risk advisories. They had received the recall notice. They had attempted to schedule the appointment. They were waiting. Then, in April of 2026, Kia and Genesis issued a separate recall covering 235,792 additional vehicles. A different defect entirely: fuel pipe retaining bolts that had not been properly tightened during manufacturing. Loose bolts allow movement in the fuel line. Movement in the fuel line sustained over time can lead to fuel leakage. Fuel leaking onto hot engine components produces fire. Different defect, different brands in some cases, same category of outcome. There are Kia owners watching this right now who went through the original Theta 2 recall process, drove home believing that chapter was finished, and then received a new fire risk recall letter from Kia in April. If your last VIN check on a Hyundai or Kia was more than 6 months ago, the current status may look different from what you last verified. That is number 2. Number 1 is the most documented case on this list, not because it is the most dramatic, but because the evidence that the fix failed was confirmed in writing by federal safety regulators multiple times, and then confirmed again. Number 1, the Chevrolet Bolt EV, 2017 through 2022. Let us go through this sequence carefully because it is the clearest documentation available of what it actually looks like when a recall remedy is applied, confirmed as insufficient, applied again, confirmed as insufficient again, and eventually replaced by something fundamentally different from all previous attempts. The defect was identified in the high voltage battery cells manufactured by LG Energy Solution. Specific cells could contain 2 simultaneous manufacturing defects, a torn anode tab and a folded separator. When both defects appeared in the same cell, the conditions for an internal short circuit existed. An internal short circuit in a lithium-ion battery cell produces thermal runaway. Thermal runaway produces fire. General Motors issued a recall in November of 2020. The remedy was a software update that reduced the battery's maximum charging capacity and added detection logic intended to identify cells showing early signs of degradation. Owners received the update. Service advisors confirmed the recall was complete. Owners drove home. Fires continued in vehicles that had already received the update. GM expanded the recall in July of 2021. By August, every 2017 through 2022 Bolt EV was under recall. 141,000 vehicles total. The new guidance added to the existing software remedy: do not charge above 90%. Do not leave the vehicle charging unattended overnight. Park outside. Do not park in enclosed structures. Owners who had already received the original software update were now being told 18 months after the initial fix that what they had received was not sufficient. The behavior they had been asked to change was not the same as the risk being eliminated. A revised software update was developed and deployed as the next phase of the remedy. GM communicated that this addressed the fire risk. 4 vehicles caught fire in cars that had already received this second software remedy. NHTSA confirmed it. 4 documented fires in vehicles where the official recall repair had been completed. Owners who went through the appointment received the update and were told by the service advisor that the process was finished, drove home in vehicles that subsequently caught fire. General Motors ultimately announced a battery module replacement program, physical replacement of the battery modules with redesigned components. This is what a hardware solution to a hardware problem looks like. It is also what arrived after 2 software remedies that each in turn proved insufficient to prevent additional fires in vehicles where those remedies had already been applied. A waiting room receipt is not the same thing as a solved defect. The Bolt EV recall documented that in writing more than once. The Chevy Bolt EV recall is not the story of a manufacturer that ignored a defect. It is the story of a manufacturer that addressed a defect, incorrectly assessed the effectiveness of the remedy, communicated to owners that the situation was resolved, and was then presented with evidence that it was not, more than once and then again. If you went through all 3 of those appointments, I want to hear from you in the comments. What did you say to the service advisor the 3rd time you handed over the keys? That is number 1, 7 vehicles, 7 recalls, 7 situations where the distance between a recall announcement and an actual resolved defect turned out to be longer than anyone told the owners when they handed over the keys. The pattern across all of them is not simple negligence. It is something more specific. It is the gap between identifying a problem and fully understanding it. The gap between deploying a remedy and confirming that it works under real ownership conditions, not controlled testing environments. And the way that gap gets communicated or does not get communicated to the people who are still driving those vehicles while the understanding is still developing. A software update applied to a failing hardware component is not always a fix. A recall notice issued before a remedy exists is not a solution. A bracket installation pending across 500,000 vehicles is not resolved just because the instruction went out. A battery replacement requiring months of supply chain development is not something a recall letter can make arrive faster. What every owner on this list was asked to absorb was a period of uncertainty that the recall process was specifically designed to eliminate. In these 7 cases, the process extended that uncertainty rather than closing it. If a recall is marked complete on paper, but the risk returns in practice, should the automaker be required to re-notify every owner? Leave your answer in the comments. And if you own any vehicle covered here, go to nhtsa.gov and enter your vehicle identification number. Not a check from last year, not a check from when you first heard about the issue, a current one. Because the status of a recall changes, what was listed as completed may have been reopened. What was under investigation may now carry a remedy. The only version of your recall status that matters is the one that exists today. The recall notice is the beginning of a process, not the guarantee of its completion. 7 vehicles on this list confirm that the distance between those 2 things is longer and more uncertain than anyone is typically told when they sit down in the waiting room. A lot of owners found that out the hard way. Some of them are still finding out.